Paul Braun from the Porter County Amateur Radio Club invited me to talk to them about parachute mobile and how I do what I do and why I do the things I do. This is a recording of that meeting. I was wearing my mic, but there was no mic in the audience, and some of the audience interaction is a little bit low on sound. So whenever possible, I'm going to explain that as a block of text in here. I hope you enjoy the talk.
It was fascinating. I met him actually this year at Xenia, where he did 2 jumps?
4 total.
4 jumps in the Xenia area, and everybody's out there with a handy-talkies trying to work him. I didn't get through, and then I ran into him again at the Fort Wayne Hamfest, so we talked for a while. He said, you know what, you're close enough. Let's have you come over and talk to the club. He said, sure. So, let us, because it's been one of those days and my brain is not totally working today, the webcam that I brought the tripod for is in the other bag. So we are going to turn this around so we can use the webcam on my laptop.
We can reposition anywhere we need to, okay?
No,
so
good.
it's just, you know.
I'm going to turn this around so that the people are watching at home.
Let's see. I'm short, so you got, there we go.
And we will move this over in your general direction.
I like to move around, so
That's fine.
I'll be mindful to speak that way, so hopefully.
That's fine, it'll pick up what it is. This will get better as we go. So ladies and gentlemen, Carlos, K9OL.
Thanks everybody and good evening. He's already beaten me to the punch of Carlos K9OL. I'm also United States Parachute Association license D36519. All that to say that I sort of know what I'm doing. Okay. I have a bunch of pictures interspersed in here, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see them very well, but hopefully you can see them a bit. Half the presentation is cool pictures I've taken from the sky, and a little bit of context. So this is at Xenia last year. The Hamfest is right there. That's the corner of the field, and then the drop zone is way over here. And the winds were strong enough that I was able to get out about 3 miles past the drop zone, which put me about a mile from the Hamfest, and made things a little bit easier. Although, you know, at 14,000 feet, you might expect that my, 2-meter antenna works really well. My 705, I was doing 10 watts on that because, well, I can, why not? You do what? People, when I talk to people and then they look me up, they find my call sign on QRZ normally and they go, you do what? Well, started skydiving in 2011. I started doing amateur radio in 2019. And I've been a skydiving instructor since 2014, if I remember right. 2 forms of skydiving instruction: accelerated free fall, where you actually learn how to get a license and become a skydiver, and tandem, where most people do their jump and they go, wow, I did it, and then they never do it again. You know, Doug did twice. Doug's over there, he's done twice. He's coming up on one of the pictures, don't worry. I'm also a VE. If you're not a VE and you're a general or an extra, I strongly encourage you to be a VE. It's not that hard, and you're gonna help the hobby along. Various organizations, and I've done lots of other things, but my chief accomplishment in life is getting my wife to say yes.
Been there.
How hard did you have to try to get that done?
Oh, it was difficult. I'm not gonna lie, but something about both of us being in the Army and, the understanding of, well, what we're doing is kind of hard. It is a whole lot easier when we have someone that you like with you. All the time. I'm not a fool.
It's easy to get them to say yes that first time. Can you continue to get her to say yes?
Yes. It just has to be. It's just things that she wants to do. That's not true. She actually, the reason I skydived today is because she enabled me. She got sick and tired of hearing me say one day, and one day she said, "Here's 2 certificates for 2 tandems. Either put up or shut up."
That'd be a better story if you just said she threw you out of the plane.
Well, there's a story behind that one. She can't because she's not a tandem instructor, but Here's another cool picture. I'm doing HF on 20 meters. If you look at my left wrist over there by my forearm, it says 11.1. I don't know if you'll be able to see the 0.1 on it, but that's 11,100 feet. Unspooling a Pactina end-fed half wave and my feed line, that's my 706. Sold it, bought it right back. I have a love-hate relationship with that thing. I love it, but I want to stay in the QRP side, and that thing is a temptation. It's a massive temptation because it's a great radio. But that's how I tell how high off the ground I am. That little doobly-doo on my wrist, sound altimeter tells you how high off the ground you are. Zero's when you turn it on. I have another one here that's analog. You can't see that face. All right, the agenda. Buckle up. We're going for a ride, right? Background, done. Check, right? Why do I do this? We're going to talk about that. What have I learned? What are my goals? What do I use? Stats for 2023 and a little bit of Q&A. I have the Q&A at the end. Listen, if you have a question related to the slide I'm on, by all means, pop your hand up. If it's contextual, it's easier that way. If it's not related to the slide, let me get to the Q&A, please. Another fun picture. This is landing, and you see that same antenna setup streaming behind me and dragging through the grass as I land. I'm not quite landed yet. You see my shadow casting on the ground, but I'm probably 6 feet off the ground at that point. Why do I do this? I'm a guy. Bottom line is fun. I don't do things that are not fun. I don't know about you, but I learned a long time ago when I got out of the Army that I wasn't going to do anything that wasn't fun anymore. So I do this because it's fun. Bottom line. Why do I do radio in the sky? It started to scratch an itch. And the problem is that once you scratch an itch, it gets itchier and itchier and itchier, and you keep on wanting to scratch the itch. It hasn't stopped. I answered one question, I got another 10. I answered those 10, I got another 100. It just keeps snowballing. It's fun. It follows the next point, to exercise my brain. I can't stand to sit and do nothing. Who's been in the Army? Who's been in the service at all? Hurry up and wait. Yep. Can't stand it, right? So you know what I mean when I say hurry up and wait. If you haven't been in the service, it means you hurry up an awful lot and then you sit there twiddling your thumbs, and I detest it. So I like to exercise my brain. I always had a book. I always had something to learn from, and this lets me learn a lot of things. I also do it to test gear. It's one thing for somebody to tell you, hey, this antenna has this much gain. This radio does this, and it's a completely different item when you put it up in an environment where there's no interference. I have an S0 signal. There's no EMI. The only EMI is the radio. How beautiful is that? If you're playing with radio and this is what makes you happy, what better environment? I mean, come on. For me, straight up cool. And to my surprise, people like what I'm doing. The first time I did this, I did it to scratch an itch. The itch was, I'm studying for my tech, and I see in the book, it says that there's a null in an omnidirectional antenna above it and below it, shaped like a toroid, right? And I'm like, seriously? I can go to the TV station, I can go next to the TV station tower, turn on the TV, and pick up that signal. Where the hell's the null? Where is it? Right? So that's theory. What's the reality? Well, the reality is that there is a null. You just have to go really high to find it. Okay? And when I did that, I took my GoPro with me because I'm a skydiver and I record everything I do. We have a lot of vanity that way. And I sent an email with a YouTube link to the people that I contacted on that jump. Said, hey, no, I really wasn't joking. I really was Parachute Mobile. Here's the video. Woke up the next day, I had several hundred views out of like 15 emails. And I'm like, this don't add up. How do I get to 300 some odd views, right? And then somebody sent me an email saying, you should put this on the Reddit, subreddit for ham radio, and I did. And then the next day I woke up and had like 1,000 views. I'm like, okay, there's something here. People like this. People try really hard to get me when I'm Parachute Mobile. I understand it to a degree, but I still don't understand it fully. Another fun picture. This is in Huntsville, and that's deployment. The parachute system, I brought one of my two along here, has multiple parachutes in it, believe it or not. It has a main parachute down here, has a reserve parachute up here. Can't jump without two parachutes. And then it has a tiny little parachute down here that pulls the main out of the container and out of the bag it's in, and that's what you're seeing there. That parachute that you see inflated is really this tiny little parachute down here, and it is pulled the main out of the out of the container, and it's pulling the lines off it. Yes?
Average price for that car?
If I had to replace this brand new, I'm looking at $9,000 right now. Yeah. Yes, I have extra insurance on my gear. The tandem system that I use as an instructor, $24,000 this year. Yeah, yeah. The drop zone I work at has 21 of them. Not a low cap business. It's a lot of money involved in it.
How much bigger is the tandem chute than the regular chute?
So that's a kind of a loaded question. A tandem parachute normally runs about 340 square feet, standard size. Some manufacturers do make smaller versions and some manufacturers make bigger versions. Okay, but the standard size is 340. As a skydiver, I can buy a parachute as small as 63 square foot, which is a lunacy. Not doing that, not today, no thanks. And as large as 400 square foot if I want to. The one in here is 170. I have two parachutes that I fly regularly. My 170 is what I use for doing parachute mobile. I have 135 square foot that I use for doing AFF instruction and regular jumping. This is just the way this came out. It's pretty. Alabama's a gorgeous state, not as flat as Indiana. So things that I have learned. This is where we go. Theory doesn't always equal reality, right? The null in a vertical antenna is real. I learned that. You can read it on books and you can take it at faith, right? You can take it on face value. You can read it on the book and say that's true because it's on the book, right? But again, I'm not one to take theory. I want to put practice to things. I was at my home drop zone in Chicagoland Skydiving Center in Rochelle. I called CQ on 5-2 while I was on the ground. There was a fella in an 18-wheeler in the truck stop next to the drop zone. I'm talking a quarter mile away. Talked to the guy, told him, hey, I'm about to go do parachute mobile. He goes, great, I'll be here. I'm flying above the truck stop, calling CQ, getting all sorts of people, not getting that guy. Getting all sorts of people, not getting that guy. At about 4,000 feet, I say, well, he's got to be around. And my brain went, hey, wait a minute. Dummy, you read about the null, you want to test the null. Maybe he's in the null. Tilt the antenna. So I take the HT from holding it vertical to holding it at a 45-degree angle. There he is. It's that simple. That null is real. You can put it into practice at 4,000 feet. It's amazing. Directionality matters even on omnidirectional antennas. Omnidirectional antennas go all the way around, right? Sort of, kind of, most of the time, not always. If I'm flying my end fed, the radiation pattern on a 20-meter end fed, if you're using it on 20, is omni. And guess what? I can be talking to you and flying this way, and I look down, I go, ooh, I got to navigate that way, and you're talking to me, and I'll make this turn, and you go from an S9 to an S1. And then I have to face back this way to finish the contact with you. It's weird, right? It's not supposed to be a directional antenna, but it sort of is. I could still hear it at an S1, but it's nowhere near as nice as when I'm facing the other direction. And I can actively show that on video. I can have someone calling me, just banging on the door hard, and I make a turn, and they disappear. It's interesting to me. I also know that people have opinions, and I have facts on some things. I have facts on the directionality of this stuff. People have argued with me about the directionality of an omnidirectional antenna. Well, guess what? I got video that proves it. Facts, right? I don't have facts on everything, but I do have facts on some things that can't be disputed. RF takeoff angles matter. This one floored me. Again, theory, you read RF takeoff angles on your literature and you think, when is this really going to apply to me in reality? Well, let me tell you, at least for me, if I take, where's he at? N9 tax. There he is. Okay. I have one of his antennas. They're supposed to be vertical, right? You fed at the bottom. You feed it at the top because I put a weight at the other end of it. Guess what happens? The radiation, the takeoff angle inverts because of the feed point. And if I don't put a weight on it, that thing starts to stream behind me, and now I'm warming up a cloud on one side of the lobe, and I'm hitting the ground really hard behind me, but not in front of me. The people in front of me are deaf to me. I have to turn around and fly the other way in order to hear the people that were behind me, that were in front of me at the point in time. It's just radiation takeoff angle. How can it matter this much? It does. So when you set up your antenna, if it ain't quite working, check. Might be leaning a little too much. Check it. There are jerks in everything, yes, even in amateur radio. As small as our community is, God, I wish I didn't have that as a fact in my life. Someone out there has my call sign and their ham alerts, and they see me parachute mobile, and they boop with 1,500 watts. Can't get away from it. I've been QRM'd on 2 meters the same way on purpose. I've been QRM'd on 2 meters with a simplex repeater. Not fun, but don't be delusional. There are jerks in everything, including amateur radio. Hopefully none of you are the jerks here.
Probably doing POTA too.
It's happened to be doing POTA. I think you've seen the video about the spider web net or something like that. Oh, just. It's a good thing I didn't go to Hamcation because I was going to have a problem. One of my favorite pictures of all time. This is my niece, Geneva. She said, Uncle Carlos, I want to go on a skydive. And I said, come and see me and I'll take you on a skydive. And she got there at noon and she was ready to rip and roar. And I said, no, honey, you wait. But I want to go. I'm like, you're staying the night. Doesn't matter. You wait. And at the last load, I took her up on the last load because this is the view you get. This projector does not do this picture justice. Sunset from 14,000 feet is nothing short of gorgeous, especially in the Midwest. If you have the opportunity to experience it, I highly suggest it. Whether it's in a plane, in a parachute, by going high somewhere, balloon, whatever it takes, if you have the opportunity to see a sunset in the Midwest, oh my God, that picture in its original format, the coloring is nothing short of gorgeous. If you have the chance, do it.
Now, is she screaming or is she?
Oh, she is having a great time. When we landed, she says, can we go again? I said, no, honey. We can't do tandem jumps after sunset. That was the very last jump, and I did that one on purpose at the end because I wanted you to have that experience. She said, I'm staying the night. Can we go first thing in the morning? Like, yes, absolutely. We had her on load 1. Her dad was just like, what? I'm like, it's not your money, dude. It's my niece. It's her graduation present. My goals for 2024. Goals matter. If you state them out loud, you can be held accountable for them, right? So I like to state my goals out loud, and that way y'all can put pressure on me and go, hey, Carlos, what about goal X or goal Y? Hopefully you're able to help me with some of my goals. I want to make more parachute mobile QSOs. Made 118, I think it was last year. I'd like to make at least 150 this year. Okay? That's my goal. If I make it, awesome, and if not, at least I tried. I want to assist the ARRL youth program, the Teachers Institute program. If you're not familiar, listen, folks, I'm not a member of the league, right? Some of us decide not to to do that. But on those two items, there's nothing out there comparable to it. Okay, they're getting youth on the air, and I'm hoping to help them out with, if there's good weather at Xenia, for me to do a couple of exclusive jumps just for the youth program, and same thing for the Teachers Institute program. Youth gets, young folks on the air. The Teachers Institute program gets teachers teaching about what we do in the classroom to hopefully spark their brains into going, yeah, this is cool. Getting more people in what we do, okay? Keep it QRP. My 706 is a blessing and a curse. Love it. It's a great radio. It's so tempting to take it in the sky, even though I have a goal of QRP and nothing but QRP for Parachute Mobile this year, okay? Anybody wants to buy a 706, hit me up. I'll sell it. Just not to have the temptation around. But yeah, I want to keep it QRP. When I use 100 watts, people are beating down the door. The pileups are so unbelievable that they're on the borderline of unmanageable. I might be able to make 1 or 2 call signs where they're sequential enough where I can go, Kilo Bravo, right? And QRP, on the other hand, is, whoo, buddy, challenge. Even at 14,000 feet, even with a great setup, it makes for a difficult way to get contacts going. When it's on, man, it's on. When it's off, you're struggling. I've had jumps when I land and there's 0 contacts. It's just the way the ice rolls, right? If I had more power, chances are really good I would have made contacts because I never skunked a jump doing 100 watts. But challenge is a challenge, right? And then I have already plans to be at Xenia and at Huntsville this year. Again, with the idea of doing Parachute Mobile while I'm there. There is a ham fest on the north, in Elkhart, I think it is. They asked me to do it there, and I said, I'm already spoken for that weekend, sorry. Otherwise, it'd be really easy for all of you to get a contact. However, I do jump fairly close to here. Rochelle is only like 150 miles that way, if that, maybe less. And, am I doing that right? Yeah, that way. And I have talked to people in this area on 2 meters before. I've talked to people in this area on 10 meters before. It's interesting. I keyed up what's his name? The Don's repeater. He asked me to key up the repeater while I was Parachute Mobile, and I'm like, I hate to do that because there's inevitably going to be another repeater in that same frequency with that same PL tone in the footprint I have. He's like, come on, give it a try. I'm like, yeah, fine, whatever. Keyed it up, and went, I'm on simplex, gave it my simplex frequency, and it was a pileup to beat the band. It was really cool to get a pileup on 2 meters. Let's see, another interesting pick. Again, this is over in Huntsville. This is my parachute, same parachute that's in here deploying. It's now out of the bag and it's starting to develop. The nose catches air first, and this rectangle here is called the slider, is built and put there on purpose to slow things down. Without it, the opening would actually hurt. With it, it's soft. Everybody goes, doesn't it hurt? Nope, not one bit. It feels like you're swinging on a swing, just one big swing. All right, what gear do I use? Radium parachute. Right now I'm using an ICOM 705. It's in here. If you haven't seen a 705, you can check one out now. NFET half waves for the most part. Slim Jims and J-Poles are also NFET half waves, even though they have their own name. Why? It's really hard to fly a dipole, right? Because the elements fold on themselves and now they cancel each other out, kind of pointless. Whatever I fly antenna-wise has to be something that doesn't need a ground plane or where the coax can act as the counterpoise for it, okay? Denko battery for 4.5 amp. Don't really need it, but it's nice to have the extra 5 watts out of the 705. 170 square foot parachute. It's in here. Depending on time and how much time you all got, I might be able to unpack it and repack it. It takes me about 15-20 minutes to pack it. So if you want to see it and we have time, I can do that. An automatic activation device. Inside of this thing, about here, in the reserve tray, it's a little barometric computer, solid state computer. The control head, the monitor for it, is up here. And all it does is it zeroes when I turn it on. It activates when I'm 1,000 foot above the ground. And if I'm still going at free fall speeds at 1,000 foot or below, as I'm descending, it'll cut the reserve loop and put a reserve over my head. $1,500, cheapest insurance policy you can ever buy in skydiving because it's the difference between a hospital and a morgue. So you're not required to use it. I think it's kind of foolish not to. And then my reserve is 143 square foot on this. No, this is 170 square foot reserve, and it's on the upper half of the container. Haven't had to use it yet. Knock on wood. Hopefully I never do, but if I actually need it, believe me, I'm going to use it. That reserve gets repacked by an FAA certificated rigger every 180 days. Has to come out of the bag. It has to be put in a rack. My main can be packed by one of three people, either the next person jumping it, which would be me, or if you're jumping it, you can pack it. I can pay a parachute packer who is under the supervision of a parachute rigger, or a parachute rigger. Those are the only three people that can pack the main. Normally, I pay a packer to pack my main because if it takes me 20 minutes to pack my main, that's 20 minutes that I'm on the ground that I can't do anything else. I can use those 20 minutes to debrief the jump that I just had with you and get ready for the next jump, right? Paying a packer $15 to do that for me, totally worth it, right? Yep. When I started, you paid a packer $6 for a pack job. We're up to 11, and I give them $4 tip because, you know, here's the thing. If you're a parachute packer and you know that I tip well, you take an extra minute to make sure that my stuff is nicely packed, right? I never have bad openings because my packers know I pay them, and I pay them well. So, few pictures from some tandems that I've done that have gone parachute mobile, right? So you can do parachute mobile in a tandem safely. You can do it safely. You can't just do it, but you can do it safely. You have to have an instructor that is willing to do it. Number one, you can't carry the radio yourself. An instructor has to carry the radio. Number two, it takes more time, and that means the instructor's going to be out of the cycle. Normally I'm up, one down, one up, one down. Typically I make 2 jumps an hour. If I'm doing parachute mobile, that takes me out of the cycle. I'm perfectly fine doing that because I don't pay my bills, all of my bills that way, okay? I have fellow instructors that's all they do. And if you take them out of the cycle for a cycle, keep them in mind and say, hey, now here's an extra $50 tip because, you know, they missed the jump that they could have been making money on, okay? Miss Ranae Six, she loved it so much, she lives in Texas. Are you guys familiar with Ranae and Vern Six, maybe? Some people are, some people are not. They have a YouTube channel. They actually, they're making bandpass filters now. Really cool people, like straight up cool people. And she fell in love with it, and she was like, where do you teach again? Rochelle, Illinois. She lives in Texas. She's like, okay, I'm coming next summer to get my license with you. That's how much she loved it. Careful, this is an addictive hobby. There's a fella in the room over there. That's him. That's Doug. Done parachute mobile there. Steve, KO4AFL, same deal. Doug did it as a birthday present. He did a free fall jump. He wanted, and he just said, how do I go about doing this? I said, listen, if you really can do it, do 2 jumps. One where we do free fall, and you just enjoy the free fall and get that experience because that is like a phenomenal experience. I can explain it, but I won't because we're a mixed company, okay? But just think about the best time of your life. This is better, okay? Yes. Yes, I'm telling you.
I understand, but
This lasts longer than 15 seconds.
that's true.
Steve started getting his skydiving license about 20 some odd years ago and had some issues and he couldn't continue because of them. And he was tipping the scales above the weight limit for skydiving and kept on saying, someday, someday, someday. I said, Steve, just lose the weight and I'll take you, buddy. Get to where we can go legal. The tandem parachute system has a limit of 550 pounds. The system weighs 50 pounds. That leaves 500 pounds of payload. I weigh 170 pounds. Do the math. Right? No, I'm not going to take someone 330 pounds. That's going to hurt a lot. The most I've taken is 298. And the instructor gets stung on the opening. Nobody, you don't get stung. The instructor does. So no, I want to keep it at like 250 or less. But yes, I'll do the occasional 260, 270, 280, 298.
Do you do like second up POTA things? Just pass the radio back and forth?
That was the idea with all of them, and I never did get around to using the radio. They were like, you get so excited about doing parachute mobile that he's like, you know what? I have a job. My job is to navigate and fly. And if I have an opportunity to do so, and you say, hey, here's the radio, go, I'll do it, right? But my job is to navigate, fly, get you safely to the ground. So I focus primarily on making sure that you have a good time. Anyhow, Steve we did it at Huntsville. He got a pile up to beat the band on 2 meters. Had a great time. 118 QSOs for last year. It's all QRP. The pins are representative of where the people have their call sign registered. Not necessarily where they were when we made the QSO, because some of these were done at Xenia, some of these were done at Huntsville, some of these were done at Chicagoland Skydiving Center. So understand that there's at the very least 3 different locations where I operated, and then people came from different locations there. So the 2-meter contacts are going to be, not quite accurate on there. The HF contacts, on the other hand, are nicely spread. Makes for a fun activity, at least for me, hopefully for you all as well as someone hunting. And then, we have the Q&A now. Ask away if you have any questions that I haven't answered. Yes, sir. Is it cold up there? Yes. On average, 50. Yeah, 50 degrees colder, 60 degrees colder. 50 degrees colder than the ground. So if the ground is 90, it's 40 up there. Okay? On a July day, 40 degrees feels awesome. It's 39 out there right now. It'd be -1. It's frigid today. Sometimes it's colder than that, especially during the winter. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, how much time do you have on the QSO on the way down?
All told, on this parachute, I'm getting about 15 minutes total of flight time, of which I dedicate the first 2 to getting the radio and everything else ready, and the last 3 minutes to landing. At 3,000 feet, I don't care who's calling me. I am QRT. Carlos, the King of England. Too bad, so sad, pal. Okay? At 3,000 feet, I am done. Once I say QRT, I am done. 3,000 feet to ground belongs to me. I have to land safely so that I can do this again. So all told, you're looking at about 9 minutes of radio time, 9 to 11 minutes of radio time, depending on how things are going.
Can you catch all the call signs with the GoPro?
No, actually, one of the main reasons I bought this radio is because it has an SD card slot in it. It can record all your QSOs. Before, with my 706, what I did is I took the headphone output with a Y splitter, and one side went to my headphones, and the other side went to a recorder, which would work some of the time. And making out the log after that jump, those jumps were just like, oh, come on, another recorder failure? This sucks! So having a radio that records is such an amazing thing. I wish I could take my 7300 in the sky. If I could take my 7300 in the sky, and the only reason I don't is because I don't have a bag that'll fit it. Okay, if I could find a bag that safely fits that thing that I can take in the sky, I'd take it 7300 up. not that fit the 7300 in the format I needed to fit in, right? Yes, sir.
What is the highest altitude you've ever jumped from? And that being said, is there like a sweet spot where you like to stay?
Highest altitude, 23,000 feet over my hometown in Arecibo, Puerto Rico. It was, without a question, in my top 5 jumps of all time. I froze my butt off. And sweet spot, 14,000 feet. We do tandems up all the way up to 18,000 feet for an upcharge, and nobody wants to do them, including me. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll do them. I love doing what I do. If you haven't gotten that by now, I really love doing what I do. But when you're on O2 and when you're in supplemental O2 is very dry. And you're in a cannula breathing the stuff in so that you can saturate your blood to 100% O2, and then you're safe until you're down lower. And it dries out your nose, it dries out your throat, it dries out your lungs, and you spend the whole day drinking water just hoping to get like that sandy feel out of your breathing system. So that's the uncomfortable portion of 18K. So, yes, sir.
Yeah, you get a lot of turbulence around your mic. Does it go out okay? I mean, you're having this rushing of air around the microphone.
It's interesting, and so my microphone is right here, right? I'm facing the microphone your way. Which way am I flying if I'm holding this thing talking into it? Flying that way, right? So the wind is coming to the back side of the microphone, and yes, you can hear some wind noise, but it's nowhere what people think it is. It's not like sticking it out the window of the car, right? It's hitting the back side of the microphone, and therefore the wind noise is rather reduced.
Say it's amazing that we could talk back and forth just like we are right here, flower,
Yeah.
flower come down.
Yeah. Well, under parachute, not in free fall. In free fall, you can't hear anything. Yes, sir.
All right, I'm gonna ask you, bird strikes.
I know, but I have had a hawk attack me in under parachute. I was jumping at Tecumseh, Michigan, and there's a river that is nearby, and apparently they were nesting somewhere near the drop zone, and one of the guys got attacked. Like the hawk came in and hit him in the head. And I laughed my butt off about it, and then on the next jump I did, that hawk put 5 holes into my parachute. Now they're pinholes, right? Because the talons just went in, but I was like, it hit him, like, what the? And I look up and like, there's a hawk up there. Yeah. It'll teach you not to make fun of people that are getting attacked by hawks.
Now, you had to replace the parachute with that.
No, just, they're pinholes. As long as the pinhole isn't spreading or ripping, you don't have to replace it. And even then, even if it was doing that, I can pay my rigger to cut that out and put a patch in it. Any more questions? Yep, over there.
So earlier I asked a question about your highest altitude. Can you from that high, can you see the Earth curvature at all? It's not.
It's, I mean, from 23,000, I mean, sort of, kind of, if you know what you're looking at, you kind of see it. You can even see it at 14,000 feet, but you have to know what you're looking for, right? When you fly in a jetliner at 30-some thousand feet, you can definitely spot some of the curvature of the Earth. The lower you get, the harder it is to see. The easiest time to see it is at sunrise or at sunset. I've done double sunrise jumps, which are amazing. You take off before sunrise on the ground, and you get to sunrise at 14,000 feet, which still hasn't hit sunrise on the ground. You get out, you see sunrise in free fall, and as you're falling, you see the sunset in the east, and you're like, that's neat. And then as you're under parachute, the sun pops back out, and you land as rising on the ground. Is beautiful. It is beautiful. You had a question over here, sir?
What don't you like about that radio?
What don't I like about that radio that is not 100 watts?
You don't like it.
Which, I love that radio. I love the 705.
Sold it and bought it back.
No, the 706, I sold it and bought it back.
705 is okay then?
I love my 705. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's not 100 watts. If they could make this in 100 watts, oh man alive.
What's 10 watts, right?
Yeah, 10 watts with the external power.
What antenna did you use? Pac-10?
I've used the Pac-10 NFET half wave. I've made my own NFET half wave with a 4921. I've used the N9 Tax J-Pole or Slim Jim. I'm about to try this one. Hang on, let's see. I think I have it still in here. That thing is cool, let me tell you. This thing is straight up cool, man. Faraday cloth on a ribbon. Here, you can pass that back if you want to. It's so slick. That's an antenna. That is so cool. Let's see, KM4ACK, NFET half wave. What else have I flown? I've flown the 705 with the AH705 tuner, a random wire, and a counterpoise wire, which worked, but I need to put more weight on the counterpoise for it to stay vertical. What else have I flown?
What were you using when you couldn't get that truck driver?
That was my handheld. That was my HT with, say again?
With a rubber ducky.
Not with a rubber ducky, but with a super elastic signal stick, which is a phenomenal antenna. It really is a phenomenal antenna. But guess what? That null is real. Any other questions?
Oh, Dale, when we stopped on the way home from Fort Wayne and did that activation, that's his home park.
Yeah, that's it.
He lives like 5 minutes from where
Yeah, I live 5 minutes away. I'm the king of Kilo 4192, for all that matters. Well, if there are no more questions, that's all I got, y'all. If you like stickers, I brought some of my stickers with me. I have my business card if you care. I have my rig up here and my radio up there. Welcome to inspect it. This bag is what I fly it in. So that's exactly how, as I fly it. For me or for you? For me, I pay $31 for a jump. I have my own equipment. I have my own license. I don't have to worry about it. For tandem, I don't know exactly, but I think it's like $300, right? Yeah, it's $300 plus whatever they charge for a video. I don't keep track of the tandem pricing because I know what I get paid. I can tell you that I get paid $40 for a tandem jump. Actually, $45 last year. There you go, you know. No, Bueller. That's all I got.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
That was fun.
There you have it, folks. That is the talk. I would be remiss if I didn't say thanks to these people. It is because of them that I'm able to do as many parachute mobile jumps as I've been able to do. Otherwise, my schedule would definitely be cut down quite a bit. Thank you to my patrons. You keep the parachute mobile machine going. Catch you guys on the next one. 7-3.